Namaste everyone, welcome to another webinar session from Asian Adventures. Unfortunately, Mr. Mohit Aggarwal won't be joining us today as he's traveling, but we have Sohail Madan with us. Thank you for joining us, Sohail sir, today.
Thank you, Gaurav, for having me.
So, good evening everyone. Just another good evening to all those walking in. So thank you for registering. We have a amazing event today. So I don't know how many of you know that September is Big Butterfly Month, and as we draw to a close, we requested Soel sir to give us a little presentation on what Big Butterfly Month is and why it is important. So before we get to the presentation, I'll quickly introduce myself. My name is Gaurav Nalpur. I'm an avid birder and avid wildlifer, and I'm also a strong believer in the fact that, not the fact, or I'm a strong believer in the opinion that wildlife tourism, when done properly, can be a great tool to aid and bridge the gaps in conservation and bring about awareness. I'm qualified as a wildlife biologist, but I'm currently training to be an ecotourism specialist. And for the last 5 years, I've been working with Asian Adventures, who, I'm very happy that they share my goal of aligning conservation with tourism. I'd like to also introduce our expert for today. Mr. Sohail Madan is an ecologist, author, and educator, and he currently serves as the director of Wild Tales, a sustainability collective. He previously held the position of assistant director at Bombay Natural History Society in Delhi for over a decade. And among his notable achievements, one of the major one includes the planning and development of North India's largest butterfly park within Asola Bhatti Wildlife Sanctuary. And this showcases his commitment to biodiversity presentation. Additionally, he's provided guidance to the Forest Department, sorry, the government of Delhi on various restoration projects and biodiversity surveys. As an advocate of seed banks, he operated native plant nurseries and has established over 85 butterfly parks nationwide. He's also led the conceptualization of citizen science monitoring programs, including Big Butterfly Month, which we'll be talking about today, Dragonfly Festival, and Delhi Moth Week. He also spearheaded the development of India's first butterfly habitat within an industrial zone, and furthermore, he initiated the Green Skill Development Program for the Ministry of Environment, Forests and Climate Change in 2019. He's implemented training for frontline forest staff in Madhya Pradesh, while he also oversees the regional education centers at Bharatpur and Bagalpur in Bihar. He's supported organizing various bird and butterfly centric festivals across the nation, as well as conducted various biodiversity surveys across India on behalf of various conservation organizations. Recognized for his contributions, he received the Dr. B. Kyota Lifetime Achievement Award in 2019 from the Indian Dragonfly Society and has served as a member of the Delhi Ridge Management Board. Thank you so much for joining us today, sir.
Thank you, Gaurav, for such a glorious introduction. Hopefully, we can have a nice chat today. I would like to start off by thanking Asian Adventures for inviting me, being part of Big Butterfly Month, and spearheading ecotourism all across India, right? And that makes me happy. And I've been associated with Asian Adventures for about a decade now,
Wow,
doing
fantastic.
small things, looking at the restoration work that's been happening, creating programs, and I'm happy that Asian Adventures has been with Big Butterfly Month for since the beginning of it. So, with that, um welcome everybody. Excited to have all of you here, and today's talk is something very close to my heart, and I'm not really going to be talking about just about Big Butterfly Month. I'm trying to derive an idea of why butterflies. So the talk is going to be about us, butterflies, and what we can do about it, right? With that, let me begin the presentation. Just let me know if you can see it in the chat, or Gaurav, if you still.
So I hope we are both audible and visible. Can you please, if everyone can hear and see us properly, can you please type yes in the chats? And also the presentation should be visible now. So I hope everyone can see the presentation as well. Okay, great.
Should I start now?
Yeah, I think I'll switch off my camera and mic. I don't want to get in the middle, disturb you in the middle of this.
Sure. So, starting off, just to let everybody know that the talk might have things that you already know, but the idea is to drive home certain points, and it would be great if we can have a question answer or feedback session, or 15-minute chat. So I would be happy to take questions at the end. So happy and really excited also, as in the more you ask questions, the better I think the point will get across, right? So with that, let's start off with what is biodiversity, right? Biodiversity is everything living from plants to animals to mushrooms in the ground. Everything living, including us, is biodiversity. Sometimes we just forget that biodiversity includes us. We think of it as something out there, like a forest out there, wildlife out there, going to a national park or something. We forget that we are also part of the ecosystem, and we derive a lot of benefits from this diversity of biodiversity being around, right? The more diverse life forms that we have, uh, the better it's going to be for us, right? This diversity is critically important for our ecosystem stability. It's we get food from it, so human well-being. It does climate regulation. Provides for different sorts of this diversity makes us resilient, makes us better adapt, being able to better adapt to environmental changes or support our agriculture. And of course, we have great cultural and ethical values attached to this biodiversity, right? This, in sum, is what biodiversity should be to us. Keep in mind, including us, right? We have to be in the center of the things. So when we look at nature, like I was saying, that this perception that wildlife is out there, we have to look beyond my house, beyond my city to a forest to find wildlife. But a better way to perceive wildlife or to look at biodiversity around you would be to look at these interconnections of nature. Like everybody knows about the food web. So all living beings, be it plants, be it grasshoppers, be it snakes, be it birds, they're all connected like we are to each other. We help each other, we uh, make each other better, and this interconnectedness is what should make us curious about biodiversity. It should make us feel that have empathy for others, other life forms around us. You see a tree being cut for building a metro line, or you have an insect spider in your house, what you do with it. This perception change, in my belief, can only come if we see the web of life, right? But when we read about biodiversity, when we, you know, in our textbooks, we usually come across something called the nature pyramid, right? This top-down approach, where at the bottom are the decomposers, above them are the producers, above that is the primary consumer, then the secondary consumer, then it's the apex predator, right? It's at the top. And we feel this hierarchy is what we have built into the system. Nature doesn't actually work like this. Doesn't have this hierarchy. I'm not saying there are no connections between decomposers and producers, right? But it doesn't have this hierarchy. But this is the accepted norm of how we try and understand nature. Like it's a, I would say, archaic idea, old idea of how we can look at nature. And why I'm talking about this is because it uh, makes our belief and a lot of policy, conservation work, just general perception of people is driven by this idea, top-down approach of nature, right? Like the Project Tiger, I'm sure everybody here in the room is familiar with the Project Tiger. It's the most successful conservation program in India. Most resources go to Project Tiger. Uh, it's started in 1973. Tiger, every year the population is increasing. It's all been a very good story. So I have no cons or nothing against Project Tiger. The only thing I think Project Tiger is missing is us, right? When we talk about protecting forest, it's very important to have projects like Project Tiger, to spend resources on it, to give time and effort, research, conservation, all that to protecting forests for these tigers, which in turn helps the whole chain downwards, looking at the nature pyramid, right? But like I was saying, the only thing missing in it is us, the areas we live in cities like Bangalore, Delhi, Pune. There are no tigers per se. There's some strays walking into urban areas now and then, but that's a different story. We can have a whole talk on that subject itself, right? But uh, all the effort, conservation effort, if goes into protecting forest, we are actively neglecting urban environments where most of human beings are now, right? The surface of Earth is almost or more than 50% urbanized. So there has to be some thought about conservation of urban areas, conservation of areas where there's a large, population density. There are lots of people living here. What do we do about that? How do we approach conservation through that lens, right? So what we came up with is called the Ulta Project Tiger. Okay. So if you see this butterfly in the center, it's called the plain tiger butterfly. It's so called because it looks like it has these markings like a tiger, right? It's one of the most common butterflies, especially in our urban areas. Everybody must have seen it. Uh, it's all around us. It's probably some of the first butterflies you see. They're bold. They're let you come close. Uh, Everybody has felt this butterfly around them, uh, in their backyards, in their schools, in waste fields. Our idea is to concentrate on the insects in the food pyramid for urban areas. This interconnection of the insects, like the beings which are most ignored, neglected, or in some cases abhorred, right? People don't like insects. People, chi is the first reaction you get. Uh, you dust and throw them out of your house. The idea is that their connections far greater or bigger connections that this small humble insect has with our surroundings, right? Everybody knows butterflies are indicators of a healthy environment. That is because butterflies have connections with host plants, with the weather, how much it's rained, how sunny it is, and they are great predictors in themselves. So, to concentrate on them, first we can figure out a lot about our environment, the space around us, urban spaces mostly. Second, a lot of other beings depend on caterpillars and butterflies as a food source, right? So almost everything eats caterpillars and butterflies, right? They're harmless creatures, beautiful harmless creatures. Uh, so if we help protect and conserve these insects, it might have a cascading effect or a ripple effect uh, where it will help the bird population, the lizard population, the spider population, everything that eats uh, butterflies, right? And this could be a way of looking at urban environments and how to protect them. The Ulta Project Tiger instead of the Project Tiger that we already have in the forest, successful program, right? This is the idea because butterflies, we feel, are like a window to the insect world. The idea is first you start with a beautiful, harmless creature, try and understand the wonders of its ecology, its life cycle, and then once you develop a liking and love for these insects, you move on to or you get curious about other life forms, other insects, other ladybugs, bees, moths, beetles. There's so much diversity in insects that this is a world which is accessible to everybody and definitely is going to help the ecosystem around us, right? So, with that, let me start off with butterflies as a window to insect world, right? We're going to talk about a few things about butterflies, and then we're going to move on to what we can do to conserve them and what BBM is all about. Okay, Big Butterfly Month is all about. So butterflies and moths are one and the same thing, right? They belong to a insect group called Lepidoptera, which means scaled wings, right? If you ever held a butterfly in your hands when you were a kid or when you were young, some color must have rubbed off on your hand. That color is scales on the butterfly's wings or a moth's wing, right? This is what makes butterflies unique in the insect world or in general biodiversity. When we look at biodiversity, general nature, right? If I'm looking at an insect, how do I know that it's a butterfly or a moth? I know that by the fact that the insect will have small scales on its wings. To touch it, it will rub off on your hand. Generally, we know this is what makes them beautiful, gives them iridescent, gives them uh, such beautiful colors. So, butterflies, the unique thing about butterflies and moth, scaled wings, right? Lepidoptera means that only. If you zoom into this wing, this is a small salmon arrow butterfly, a very common butterfly around marshes and salty areas. Uh, you would see these small dots, beautiful from far away. It looks like a yellow butterfly, but such minute colors. And if you further zoom into a butterfly's wings, this is a monarch butterfly's wing in a electron microscope. This is what the shape of these small tiny scales, nanoscales is, right? As any insect, these butterflies have 6 legs, right? 3 body parts, the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. They have a pair of antennae, compound eyes, and they're cold blooded insects. That's important to note. If you want to go look at butterflies, a sunny day is better than a cloudy day. Okay. With the parts of a butterfly, we just went through all the parts. You can see here the scales on the wing, the head, the abdomen, and the thorax, right? Mostly when we think of butterflies, we think we see two wings, right? But butterflies have four wings, and the wings at the front are called forewings, and the two wings at the back are called hind wing. So, four wings, okay? For me, the most fascinating aspect of butterflies or moths is their amazing metamorphosis. This is what makes them wondrous creatures for me, right? This is a unique ability or a evolutionary trick that they have figured out to be very successful. They have been here since the time of dinosaurs. So 300 million years is a long time to be on planet Earth. Moths have been here before the time of flowers. So they are ancient creatures, still successful, touch wood, still around us, and we see a lot of them. So this has happened because they go through life stages, and then every life stage they have singular purpose. Like in our ancient books, texts, shastras, it was written that we should go through brahmachari and then grihasth jivan and then sannyas. It was to give motivation, karma, dharma to our life stages. Butterflies have this trick figured out. So it starts out with an egg. The egg's purpose is to keep life, precious life in it, safe. It's not like a bird's egg that it's brittle. It's a little tensile. It can take some pressure on it. Out of that comes a small insect, right? The small caterpillar eats up the eggshell and then starts chomping on the leaves of the plant it was on, right? We call that a host plant. This caterpillar has no other purpose than just to eat, consume this food resource, which is these leaves. And it eats voraciously from a very small insect. It becomes a big insect, fat. That's why it makes for a good food source. Everybody wants to have good protein diet, and caterpillars provide that. It goes through a few instars, a few changes to become bigger and bigger. Once it's eaten as much as it can, it goes into pupation. It finds a corner, it ties itself to a stake or to a support, and forms into a chrysalis. Right, this chrysalis is where the transformation of the food that has been eaten by the caterpillar happens into that beautiful butterfly, that insect that we know as butterfly, right? The legs are formed, the wings are formed. Out comes it scratches, tears it open. Out comes a wet insect, which we call butterfly, which when we look at it, we call it a butterfly. It's the adult form of a butterfly. That butterfly's purpose is only to find a mate. So female is looking for a male is looking for a female. Once they mate, the female is going to lay its eggs on a host plant, which then continues the life cycle, right? The host plant is going to provide the leaves that the caterpillar is going to eat, right? So there in itself has a great connection with the flora around it, right? This is a lime butterfly. It lays its eggs on a citrus plant, right? So it has such singular relationship. So if I have a lot of different diversity of host plants, I will be getting a lot of different diversity species wise of butterflies also, right? So singular purpose, egg, keeping the life safe, caterpillar eating as much as it can, chrysalis doing the transformation, and the butterfly adult is looking for a mate, trying to make sure that the next generation comes. All this happens very fast. They're short-lived insects from say a month to 2-3 months. That's the whole cycle finishes in that. The bigger the insect, the bigger the butterfly, it has a shorter lifespan. So not these insects don't live for a very long time, right? Before we move on, there's a short quiz. I want you to use the chat box and let me know the answers if you know them, right? Uh, Butterflies have dash on their wings that makes them different from all other living beings. What do butterflies have on their wings that makes them different? Please use the chat box to put in your answers. Scales. So Jyoti, fastest finger first. Jyoti, I think Jyoti Antil got it. Second is butterflies have how many legs? 6 legs. Nice. Why do butterflies like sunlight? Somebody already answered it because they are cold-blooded. Great. Do butterflies grow in size? That's a tricky question. Do butterflies grow in size? A lot of answers. So no, some people are saying no for butterflies growing in size. That's absolutely correct. Butterflies, only the caterpillar grows in size. Once the butterfly comes out of the chrysalis, it will never grow in size. It can be eaten and get smaller, bitten and get smaller. The wings can be eaten, but it will never grow. So the size, sometimes we see the same species in different sizes. That is completely dependent on the food that the caterpillar got. If the caterpillar got a variety of, like, it has a lot of quantity of the host leaves of the host plant, it will have a bigger size, or it will have a normal size. If the caterpillar can't manage that, it will still go into its metamorphosis and come out with a small size, right? So sometimes we see very small butterflies of abnormally small butterflies of species that commonly are big. Okay, and people have already answered. Butterflies live for, so all of these questions, all of these answers are weeks, months. The idea is to understand they're short-lived insects, right? Depending on the species, it varies what their lifespan is. Moving on, thank you everybody for a massive response. I couldn't even see all of them. So thank you, everybody. Okay. Moving on. Globally, there are about 18,000 butterflies, different butterfly species. And in India, we have about 1379, but this number keeps changing every year through BBM or through research, through just people, butterfly lovers going out. We find an odd one out, something which hasn't been recorded before. And this number increases every year, sort of, right? There's 6 butterfly families found in India: the swallowtails, brush-footed butterflies, blues, yellows, skippers, and metal marks. And this is very easy to recognize if you don't know the species. I personally don't believe in, just being a master in identification. The idea is to go beyond just identification and look about, see the habitat, think about ecology of that butterfly, of that habitat, look at it in a holistic manner. But in terms of identification, this is very simple to do: swallowtails, brush-footed, blues, yellows, white and yellow, skippers, and metal marks, right? So if you can't get the species, you do get the families, okay? What do butterflies feed on? Usually we think that butterflies are only feeding on flowers, but as you will see here, there's a butterfly on the flower, of course. Then wet rocks are also where you'll see butterflies sitting on. Rotten fruit, sweaty hands, bird poop, wet mud, dead frogs, human shit. You'll see butterflies in a variety of places. This is because they're mud puddling and they're looking for some essential minerals or nutrients that the male has to give to the female as a nuptial gift at the time of mating for the formation of the egg. So, a very important activity which you'll see butterflies partaking in at a regular basis. Okay, so the idea that, oh, I just plant flowers and I will see butterflies is actually just because we like flowers as human beings and we look at them a lot more than we look at leaves or anything else. So, we see butterflies sitting on it occasionally and we think that, oh, butterflies also like the flowers as much as I do, but that's not the case, right? How do butterflies feed? If you see the picture on the left, it has a small rolled up pipe, and the picture on the right, the pipe is stretched out into this seemingly hard wet stone where the butterfly is using the proboscis to what we call the proboscis to feed. So this is like a pipe where the like a straw that we have, and it kind of sips on everything liquid that it can find. Okay, if you magnify the proboscis area, this is what you're going to look at. The coiled up proboscis is like an elephant's trunk. It's coiled up in case of not of when it's not using it. Once it wants to use it, we saw it stretches it, right? When the butterfly comes out of the chrysalis, this is actually not one organ. It is like two, like an antenna. It is two things. And then it zips it up and creates a vacuum, which then becomes this proboscis, right? So when butterflies are food for so many different things, they need to come up with over 400 million years, 300 million years. They have to come up with mechanisms to protect themselves, right? To make sure that they're not predated so easily. Everything eats butterflies, but they have to work hard for it, right? How does a butterfly make its predator work hard? There are a few things that it does. It makes itself inedible. It copies butterflies that are inedible. This is called mimicry. It changes its patterns according to the season that it comes out in. So, in the wet season, a different sort of looking butterfly will come out of the chrysalis, and in the dry season, a different one, right? But they're the same species, they just have different forms. We'll see all of that as we go forward. They use camouflage, and sometimes they also use deception, like having tails and shapes which can deceive their predator. Okay, so first is most toxic butterflies that are inedible or unpalatable. What that means is most birds, most predators won't prefer to eat such butterflies. These butterflies are usually brightly colored, which trains the predator to go for the butterflies which are not so brightly colored, right? Helps the predator also remember that not to eat these fancy, beautiful looking butterflies. Okay. Next is something that's called Mullerian mimicry. In easy words, it means a poisonous butterfly is mimicking another poisonous butterfly. Poisonous, I mean toxic. Okay, there's no venom in it or anything like that. It just means toxic, unpalatable. So here we have a crimson rose, which looks like the common rose, but they have a similar pattern. It's like having a Haldiram ka board in, Haldirams have a same kind of board everywhere. In any city you go, if you see a Haldiram board, you will know what sort of food you're getting, or McDonald's sign. It's something like that, right? It tells you exactly this sort of food. Haldiram will have this sort of chola bhatura or pav bhaji or whatever. So this is Mullerian mimicry, right? There's another type of interesting mimicry that's called the Batesian mimicry, which means the non-toxic butterfly mimics the toxic one, right? So on my right side, we have the plain tiger, the hero of the story. Uh, what makes this butterfly bold is that it feeds on a plant called madar or okra, calotropis, or a milkweed, which has some alkaloids in it that makes, I don't know if you ever, if you know the plant, if you break it, some white liquid comes out. While the caterpillar is feeding on its leaves, it also imbibes these alkaloids, right? And when it becomes a butterfly, it those chemicals remain with the butterfly. So most predators will not be eating plain tigers. That's why they're bold. You can see them everywhere. But there is a butterfly called Dianid egg fly, which is on the left, which is palatable, which can be eaten, which goes through no such process of, eating leaves of a plant which have alkaloid in them. Uh, but it kind of looks in the field, it'll definitely look exactly like the plain tiger. This is the female mimicking the plain tiger, where it knows that the plain tiger is inedible, and in my area there are plain tigers. So let me take that form and fool a few birds or frogs or whatever, right? So predators don't attack or eat me, right? The interesting thing is that the male doesn't look like that. On your right is the male of a Dianid fly, whereas on the left is a female, right? This sexual dimorphism is happening because the female is important to life on Earth. It's true for human beings also, and it's true for butterflies also. So only the female will mimic the plain tiger. The male of the Dianid fly doesn't need to. It's like all males, carefree, and not afraid to be eaten by birds. Okay. So there's sexual dimorphism in a lot of butterfly species, but not all of them. Here you can see the common cruiser. On your left is the male, on your right is the female. We talked about dry season, wet season form. Here you can see a few butterflies with, so this lime blue butterfly that you see on the left side, it looks different from the inset photograph because the bigger photograph is the dry season form, and in wet season it looks different. Same for the lemon pansy on the right side. The wet season is here on the left, and the pinkish butterfly is the dry season form, right? One of the few butterflies in India which are this pink color. This is to match the surrounding. So the dry season, winter season will not have so much greenery. So the lemon pansy can camouflage better. Same goes for the wet season. That's the reason they do it. But here, there's a bush brown species where you see two different looking butterflies mating. Okay. On the left, again, is the dry season form, and the right is the wet season form. So, this is to tell you that nature always doesn't get it right. Mistakes do happen, right? So, in this photograph, one of them has messed up, right? Got the season wrong, came too early, or something has gone wrong. So it's misjudged the season that is going to be in. That's why you can see here the dry season and females, dry season and the wet season mating. Usually this is not seen, but mistakes, as I said, mistakes do happen. Okay, moving on. If I'm a non-toxic, a palatable species of butterflies, I can also camouflage myself in my surroundings. Like you can see the common evening brown. Here on the left, it is with fallen leaf, right? And very hard to decipher. You have to go really close to, actually you have to see it fly and see it land somewhere. Then only you can figure out that there's a butterfly sitting there. Same for a yellow orange strip on our right, which is sitting. There are two butterflies sitting under a leaf, and they look exactly like this yellow, almost decaying, dead, or not green leaf. So butterflies choose where they want to sit. They don't just randomly sit anywhere, right? This is a very interesting butterfly called the orange oak leaf. If you see, it looks like a dry leaf. It copies the shape, it copies the veins on it, it copies the kind of decaying look of a fallen leaf, a dry leaf. But when it opens, it has this bright blue orange coloration, right? This is what we call flash coloration. What the butterfly is doing here, it is uh, flashing bright colors to its predator. When it senses a predator nearby, it flashes this bright color and then goes and flies and sits somewhere else. So if I am the predator, I am looking for a orange blue butterfly to eat. But what is sitting is a dry leaf. So this is also one, adaptation on camouflage called flash coloration. Some butterflies have eye spots on them. They want the predator to think that there is a different kind of insect sitting the other way. These are strategically located at the edges of the wings, because if I'm a bird trying to eat this butterfly, I will go for the eyes and go for the least, uh, you know, least wanted area, or even if the back end of the wing is eaten, the butterfly can still survive and find a mate and lay eggs. So this also eye spots, having eye spots is also a way to protect themselves. Then some butterflies have these false antennas or false heads. They just don't have the antenna, they also have these eyes. So sometimes when you're looking at these butterflies, you will feel that the end of the wing is the actual head. It fools us also. Recently, I was doing a walk in Greater Noida, and somebody saw a silver line for the first time, and they kept taking photographs of it without realizing that what they were photographing was an upside down butterfly, in the sense that they kept thinking that the tail end is actually the head. The butterfly just doesn't try and put a false head on it. It also moves its wings in such a manner that the false antennas are constantly moving, like it actually looks like a living insect on the other side. Then some butterflies have tails which are not used as false heads, but they are bigger butterflies, so they're sometimes used to scramble the signal that the bats are sending for echolocation. Yeah, because bats eat a lot of moths and big butterflies. When we talk about butterfly predators, we've been talking about a lot of things eating butterflies. Everything will eat a butterfly. You'll see this robber fly, a dragonfly, spiders, praying mantis, lizards, birds. They have a lot of predators. You see here a bird eating that moth. This is an interesting picture where uh, the spider is sitting on the coat button flower and just waiting. As soon as the butterfly comes, it grabs it, and that's the end of the butterfly, right? Apart from butterflies being eaten, the caterpillars are especially really good protein source. So when butterflies and moths, the adults have a wide range of predators. The same way, uh, caterpillars also, right? So even fungus, parasitoids, wasps, in addition to, even humans somewhere eat moth caterpillars, monkeys eat them, everybody eats them, right? So this is a wasp kidnapping a caterpillar. It's going to take that caterpillar and put it in his nest, lay its eggs on it, and do an incision in the caterpillar, so the caterpillar doesn't die. And when the larva comes out of the eggs that the wasp has laid, it can feed on a live caterpillar, right? So with that, we must understand what is the importance of butterflies. There's their food source, as we've been discussing. They are pollinators, like most people will tell you. But to me, they're an excuse for us to go outside, experience the outdoors, good for our physical health. And now there's so much research backing that greenery, looking at nature, interacting with butterflies is beneficial, like very, very beneficial for our mental health also. So a great excuse to get out being very important. Coming to how and where butterflies stay, right? A butterfly habitat can be your garden. There are few things that you have to take care, and in no times you'll have butterfly around you, right? It's to do it in your garden is simpler. To do it on a larger scale, we need a few changes. We need to think of a few things, like no poisons are used, right? What I mean by that is your garden, your ideal ecosystem, your butterfly habitat cannot be using any chemicals. You put herbicide, insecticides, it's not going to, or a mosquito repellent or a mosquito spray, it's not just going to kill the mosquito or kill that specific cockroach. It's also going to kill caterpillars and the butterflies, of course. Uh, we need to get into this mindset of uh, when nature is allowed to, have its own checks and balances. This is what we call biological control. In our urban areas, we have been spraying left, right, and center trying to kill mosquitoes, but the malaria and dengue cases have been on rise for past 20 years. When I was growing up, there were hardly any cases of dengue, but now every year it's an epidemic almost. Why that is happening is because we are relying on chemical control. If we let dragonflies eat up the mosquito and the larva of the dragonflies eat up the mosquito eggs and larva in the water, then we will be relying on biological control. So if we create a habitat, we should always make sure that there are no chemicals happening. We are going for biological control. We are planting natives. If I get a plant from Mexico, I can't get the Mexican butterfly. So if I plant, am in a habit of planting native plants, they will usually be host plants for our butterflies, right? We have to start using less intrusive methods for gardening. Jharu lagana, pruning, cutting, unseasonal cutting. All this leads to large amount of butterfly caterpillars dying, right? This mindset is very important, right? That if I want butterflies in my garden or in an area where I live or in a school or in a forest, I cannot kill the butterfly that's eating the plant leaves. So that leaves on my plant that I've planted have to be eaten by the caterpillar for there to be butterflies, right? Important mindset change for anybody who wants to build butterfly habitats or how to attract uh, butterflies to their home, right? The few things that you can do is plant host plants, which the caterpillar is going to feed on. Plant some wild nectar plants. Have a patch which is undisturbed, a wild patch. Have few hedge plants. You can have a mud puddling area. You can have sun basking areas. You can have additional insect hotel and a bird bath, because a variety of insects are going to be attracted to the caterpillar, and a lot of birds are going to eat those caterpillars. So it's good to have drinking water for birds, right? With this, we can think of threats to butterflies, right? Habitat loss everywhere, just not habitat loss, also habitat fragmentation. Sometimes we think, oh, a big forest area, create a road is going to take only a small amount of space. Why is it so bad? But habitat fragmentation also plays a big role uh, in declining insect populations across the world. Our climate change that we are facing also is having an effect on insect populations, in addition to the pesticides and chemicals that we are using. The rate of extinction of uh, insects is 8 times faster than any other living being, right? So there's some studies, long-term studies. Unfortunately, in India, we don't have such studies, long-term studies, but long-term studies in Europe say that about 40% of insects have vanished, right? So it's some people call it the insect Armageddon, right? We are facing a situation where we don't see so many insects. Anecdotal information is there, right? When we mm, now go across highways, we're driving across highways, we don't have to stop at a gas station or a petrol pump to, wipe our windscreen. There are no insects hitting it. Only a few areas, forest roads or whatever, you'll have insects hitting it, but usually the windscreen is completely clean. So uh, there are anecdotal information, but no such concrete data. And that's one of the things that Big Butterfly Month is trying to address over a long period of time. Okay. What we can do, we can develop butterfly habitats, we can help in butterfly monitoring, uh, we can contribute to citizen science initiatives like Big Butterfly Month, City Nature Challenge, National Moth Week. Uh, there are a lot of it happening in India, and I think it's a great thing that India is, spearheading this citizen science movement. Technology has made it possible that we can help scientists and researchers by submitting data, that things that we see around us, submitting that data to global databases using very easy to use apps on your phone. Very easy now. They will help you identify. It's very easy to do, which most research organizations and researchers or conservationists cannot do long term monitoring over large areas because they don't have such time and resources, right? It needs a lot of effort. That's why these citizen science programs are important, where we can get together, all of us, anybody who contributes to science is a scientist. So all of us are eligible. We don't have to have degrees. We don't have to be working in institutes. Everybody can do this, can contribute, and it really helps. And we will be seeing the effects of it as programs like Big Butterfly Month grow and mature. Um Most of you here would be birders, I'm presuming. But if not, there is an app, similar app developed by Cornell University called eBird, using data from general birders, putting in their observations on this app, which has helped for the first time. 2020 was the first India's State of Bird of India's report, and 2023 was the second edition. That was the first time we could manage to come out with such a document, because since 2014 there have been a boom of people using such apps, eBird, right? We can do something similar in terms of butterflies, and hopefully by in a few years we can come out with the State of India butterfly report also, right? With this idea, we celebrate Big Butterfly Month on every September of the year. uh, we go out, collaborate with, we have over 50 partner organizations participating. We have more than 300 district coordinators. We are covering up this year. We are, apart from Meghalaya and Manipur, which I'm very sad about, we are covering the entire nation, right? We have people who will be who have been conducting awareness programs towards butterfly conservation. In addition to that, we needed this program to have some conservation action. And where that action comes in is we are not just talking about awareness, and the sessions are not just based on talking about butterflies. They're also concentrating on using apps like iNaturalist, India Biodiversity Portal, Butterflies of India, to actually create capacity where the layman can also start using these apps and submit observations, right? So it works on three levels. Work for outreach, then you work for uh, you know observing, creating capacity for people to observe and identify, and thirdly, on uploading this data to global databases. The choice is yours. There are a lot of apps available. Whatever you choose, we have created a website on the back end called bigbutterflymonth.in. I suggest you should check that out, where all the data is being collated over the years. We started out in 2020 as a national program. This program was initiated in 2017 in Delhi and has gone on to now Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka. More and more people are joining this movement, which we call the Big Butterfly Month. And I hope you guys also, maybe this year is too late, but next year you connect with Big Butterfly Month, the website, the resources on iNaturalist and Butterflies of India, and maybe all the butterfly lovers community, where you can create or co-create awareness programs which focus on biodiversity or conservation action. Okay. With this, just to show you here that I use iNaturalist because it is very simple to use. It's on my app, it's on my desktop. I can take a photograph. It will identify that photograph for me. It will keep that photograph for posterity for me as a list of where I saw what for my personal, organizing my personal data. And it will also help you connect to a wider community of conservationists or researchers who are already working on butterflies or on the specific insect that you're interested in, or the plants that you're interested in. And this community is always willing and ready to help, right? So this app is not just a photo app or a photo identification app. It is also an app which will organize my data, and it is also it's also something that helps me participate and be part of a community, right? With that, I would like to thank you, and be happy to answer your questions if you have any. Some people have been saying things about insect hotel and Nepal. Somebody's from Nepal who's saying Big Butterfly Month was thing. Yeah. Thank you. Gaurav, over to you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sohail sir, for such an amazing, informative webinar. Really a great, it was a great experience, and the way it was so simply explained. I think it made butterflies accessible for everyone. Sorry, I think Sohail sir has some connection issues at the moment. In the meantime, can you please put your questions in the chat box if you have any?
Sorry, something happened. Am I?
No, no problem, no problem.
Hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, also, I think, can you just give a brief on insect hotels? I think a lot of people are asking about those.
Yeah, I'll be more than happy to. So, Insect Hotel is a place you can build small space in your garden or in your school or any other place which you feel uh, you want insects to come to. This is made with scrap material. You can take boards or bricks to create it, and put different type of like straw or uh, egg cartons or waste paper into this brick framework that you made. Bamboo, cut bamboo is also a very good thing. These waste materials which we find around our house, if put there, can be a place where different sorts of, say, solitary bees or different sorts of other insects can come there and make that their home, right? And it's also a very good educational tool. And I would say very easy to make. You can go online and check it out. You can just type insect total and it'll show you a few diagrams. It's very easy to replicate. Uh, I think most people should have them. The only problem is like if you do it in your home or something like that, some people might not be comfortable with wasp coming or something like that. But like I said, change your mindset. Wasp also fascinating.
Another question from Sarla ji. Sarla ji, you've asked, can you provide this PPT of the webinar?
Yeah, definitely.
So, Sohail sir, can you please put your email ID in the chat box? I think those of you who are interested can get in touch with you.
Sure, I'll do that.
In the meantime, I'll just like to tell everyone that you will get a recording of this webinar. Not just you, even those who registered and could not make it, you will receive a recording, a link for a recording of this webinar in your email inbox. And also, I see a lot of people here are also getting into butterflies. So, I just take this moment to tell everyone about Delhi Earthwalks, which is an initiative that Asian Adventures has started. So, it is our initiative, it is our kind of the purpose of Earthwalks is, like Sohail sir said, for people to notice wildlife around them. Not just think about wildlife as something you have to go to the forest and take a safari to see, but you can go around your city, in your city, and look at birds, butterflies, moths. We had a recent one on bats, and my colleague Salil and his team, and of course our amazing experts, including Sohail sir, I think has taken a few walks himself.
Yes. We
Leaves
just did
of
one for Big Butterfly Month,
fantastic.
right
You know,
after the bats.
they've carried out some amazing walks. So I'm putting up a link in the chat box. This is our WhatsApp group where you can stay updated about the upcoming earthworks if you'd like to join. Okay, so one question from Mohanaji is why is that pairing called a mistake for wet and dry season?
Like it's not yeah. So don't take it literally. It's not a mistake if they are able to procreate and nobody has eaten the butterfly. It's all well and good, but the idea of having a season form is to come out in the right season. So if it's raining and everything is green around me, I would like to come out in the wet season. Sometimes that doesn't happen and the dry form comes out. But in that picture, they are mating. That's the purpose of the butterfly. So if it's fulfilled its purpose, it's not really a mistake. But from where we are looking at forms, somebody got the weather wrong. That's all. That's about it. The mistake is about getting the weather wrong.
So it's like if we were wearing a sweater out in the summer.
Yes, 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 exactly.
Another question is how can we conserve the eggs of a butterfly?
Conserve the eggs.
Yeah.
Just let be.
So the question is how can we conserve the eggs of a butterfly?
Just let it be. Like,
Okay.
okay. So, uh, in monsoon, right? You shouldn't be pruning your plants. You shouldn't be cutting branches. I would say you shouldn't be doing that at all. Let the plant grow free and wild. But uh, in the monsoon, there's more butterflies breeding, so you should take care. You should have wild areas around you. There are few things you can do to keep the eggs safe. But the idea is to keep the eggs safe. If you're asking for rearing a butterfly, how you do it, that's a different matter.
Okay. Another question is, how many species of pansy butterflies are there in India?
Well, there's a lot across the world, right? Uh, Delhi only has lemon, peacock, blue, something else, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are probably a lot of pansies. I'm not sure. I'm not sure of the number.
Uh, so another question. Next question is, may I know, please know the partnering organizations from Sri Lanka?
It's on our website. Maybe you should check out bigbutterflymonth.in and you'll see the partners.
Okay.
Or you can get in touch with me. I can connect you with the person concerned.
So how do butterflies disappear in winters and then re-emerge?
Well, they don't disappear. There are butterflies in winter also, but the amount is less. The population is less species you see. Butterflies have a neat trick called diapause, right? It's like hibernation for bears, but a butterfly can decide in any life stage to go into diapause. So if the weather is unfavorable, if it is late in coming out, or if it's early in coming out, or whatever the reason might be, the butterfly can stop its life and begin when the time is right. So it's a very interesting, neat trick. It's a great question you asked.
Next question is, I've noticed a good number of Danites on Eupatorium plant. Which nutrient are they getting from it, and what is its role in their life?
They're not getting a nutrient. They're looking for chemicals in these plants are called. So they're looking for chemicals in the plant, and they're scratching the plant. They're not nectaring or the caterpillars not eating the leaves. They're using their front two legs. They're called brush-footed. They're using their front two legs to scratch the surface of the plant and take the chemical, which in turn works as pheromone for attracting females. That's why you see a lot of them. It's like a bar for male butterflies.
Okay, I think one question I can answer. Are earthworks conducted in Delhi alone? For the moment, yes, but we hope to soon spread to other cities, including Pune, Mumbai, and maybe Ahmedabad,
Bangalore.
maybe more. Bangalore, yes, definitely.
Yes.
The next question is, how do wingtails help in scrambling bat signals?
So, an easy way to understand it that bat is sending a signal, and whatever hits it comes back. It realizes where the distance of the prey. But if there are wings, it kind of scrambles the signal going back. Some of it is absorbed, some of it is deviated. So it kind of fools the bat, and it cannot properly locate uh, the prey. Sometimes I don't know, it's not very common, but if you do night walks in the forest, sometimes you will see big flying moths flying and suddenly drop down, right? So what they're doing is they're scrambling the signal and then getting out of that space itself. They're just going to fall down like that, and that helps them evade the bats. So there's a Mullerian mimicry question. So in Mullerian mimicry, it's an advantage for both of them. The It's an advantage for both of them to be mimicking each other. So Mullerian is when they are all inedible or all toxic butterflies are trying to look like each other. Whereas in Batesian, they are looking for the non-toxic is going for uh, the non-toxic is mimicking the toxic model. right? In Mullerian, that's not the case. So there's an advantage to both of them, whoever is mimicking whichever.
So how rare is the Sahyadri gaudy baron, which is brown, red, and
Well,
white?
if you
Are they
don't live
endangered?
in well, if you don't live in Sayadri, it's quite rare. Right? Western Ghats is where you can see it.
There are butterflies. I think these two questions can be kind of clubbed together. One is which species of butterflies migrate, and the other one is there are some butterflies that migrate from one continent to the other. Are there any such in India?
Take the second question first. Yes, there have been butterflies that their Mohana is mentioning. There are butterflies that do cross the Atlantic and have been noticed by ships crossing the Atlantic, and that butterfly is the painted lady. And in fact, that painted lady butterfly comes to India also. So it's a globally migrating butterfly. But of
Uh,
course, this migration in insects is not like bird migration. It happens intergenerationally. It's not one insect going the whole distance. Generations go forward.
how many species select lantana as a host plant? I think that's an interesting question.
Not the, it's a favorable nectar plant. There might be a species or two which hosts it, but it's not a host plant. It's a primarily a nectar plant. The butterflies love the flowers of lantana. Though lantana is an invasive species, we shouldn't be planting it. But there's some horticulture varieties now, yellow and orange, which don't kind of spread like the wild one. So if you have a contained garden, you can plant it. It's a great nectar plant to have. Birds
Uh,
also love it.
do all species of butterflies uh, do mud puddling?
Yeah, most of them. Some do it in big groups, and some do it individually, singularly.
Okay. How can one identify sailor species and flash butterfly species? Is there an ID key?
Yes, it's called iNaturalist.
Yeah, so
There are a lot
I
of ID keys. Sorry, but you can use apps like iNaturalist for just that kind of answer. But there are a lot of, if you email me, I'll send you the email ID key. But there online also you'll find a lot of. There are a lot of resources online. Uh, a lot of people have been working on butterflies, creating resources, books. I just got a Moths of India, so by Sanjay Sundhi. So there are lots of resources you can find for such a question on how sailors can be identified. They are tricky to do. You need open wing and closed wing of the species.
sorry about the background noise.
No, no, I
Uh,
like it.
so I think that is all the questions. Sohail sir has put his uh, email. I think if you have any more questions, can they email you?
Yeah, yeah, of course. You
Yeah,
can email
please.
me if you want the PPT, if you have any questions, if you want to participate, if you have any ideas or feedback, of course.
Fantastic. And, I'd just like to add that, Sohail has been talking about iNaturalist and citizen science. I'd like to remind people, and this is something I do with fellow birders as well. Citizen science, you don't have to be an amazing expert who knows how to ID every single species. Anyone and everyone should be, if you're observing butterflies, if you're seeing butterflies, if you have a love for butterflies, please do contribute. And
Absolutely.
Big Butterfly Month does not mean, we should only be watching butterflies in September.
Oh, no, no, no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
of course. Absolutely correct. I'm sorry. You should be doing
No,
it
no,
all
not,
year round. But
of course, of
September is
course.
my birthday, so do it with me on September.
Fantastic. September is just the month we celebrate them, but so even you're talking about dry and wet forms. So go out, watch butterflies, observe them. You can
Yes.
see these dry and wet forms for themselves. See the sexual dimorphism, whatever Soel sir has explained so beautifully today. Go out and see it in the real world. Okay, I think just one last question. and then we'll switch off because we've already gone over our time. So the last question is: will removal of lantern and other invasive species impact butterflies?
In the short run, yes, but not in the long run. It will be better. It will be better if we remove. I was running an active lantana removal program, uh, especially our protected forests. It's imperative that we start removing lantana, because what lantana does is it spreads and kills the other biodiversity, right? So it's like a monoculture, गेहूं का खेत, right? If a lantana का खेत will, if there are no host plants, there will be no butterflies to nectar on the invasive plant. So in the short run, yeah, I have two invasive plants, invasive lantanas in my garden. I'll see a lot of butterflies, and if I take out those two, the number of butterflies that I see easily will go down. But that just means that the butterflies I see easily have gone down. There are a lot of butterflies around. They're using other flora, host plants, and wildflowers. Butterflies are not very finicky about the flowers that they're going to. They don't. Right? It's not like bees. Bees are very specific about the flowers. Butterflies are generalist in that idea. So I would suggest we should be removing lantana on a war footing.
Right. So on that note, I'd like to thank everyone. Thank you for joining us today. You've been a very enthusiastic audience. It's lovely to have, participants who ask a lot of questions, who are interactive with us. It makes the webinars all the more enjoyable for us as well. So thank you all for joining us, and thank you again, Sohail sir,
Thank you.
for today's amazing
My pleasure.
session. So I'd just like to remind everyone, you will receive a recording of this webinar on your email ID, and I think in some time we will be putting this recording up on YouTube as well. So thank you, everyone. I hope to see you again in more webinars. I hope we see you on Delhi Earthworks as well. Those of you who are in Delhi, and until then, enjoy nature, love nature, and have a great night. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Good night.